Hello everyone and welcome to Tree of Life Tarot. This is going to be a pick a card reading for the month of April 2026. So I've got a few options laid out for you here. There are 3 piles to choose from. We have first the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot, which is my personal favorite, but not one I often use unless I'm reading for myself, but a very unique kind of deck. We have here the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Duggan, which is a classic always, and here we have the traditional Rider-Waite deck. Now, a couple options to choose by. Here I've pulled out the Queen of Wands for each deck, and I did that because for most of April we are in the season of Aries, and Aries can be represented by the card the Queen of Wands. So that's here for you to look at. So if any of these figures particularly resonate with you, that's one option you can choose by. So at any point during this intro, you can pause and take a look and just use your intuition and see what you're drawn towards. Also, April is very Queen of Wands energy because we really have, at least in the Northern Hemisphere where I am, a strengthening of the sun and a kind of resurgence of that vitality, and many of us can feel a sense of our passion returning and our creativity returning. So that's really embodied by the Queen of Wands here. So now the other option, we have a couple little totems here. So the first with deck 1 is our stone here that says passion on it. As I just mentioned, passion is very much the name of the game this time of year. We have on our Witch's Tarot deck, pile number 2, we have an amethyst butterfly wing. So amethyst is a very spiritual stone. It's associated with dreams and cleansing, and this is a very spiritual deck as well. And then with our Rider-Waite, we have a feather here. So it's a leather engraved feather, but feathers represent finding your wings again, being ready to fly. So take a moment, pause the video if you need to, see which pile resonates with you, and I will see you in your pile. Okay, welcome pile number 1. You have got the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot deck with this beautiful stone that says passion on it. So if that called to you, let's see what messages there are for you this month. So let's pull out 2 cards first for overall messages. So we have Queen of Pentacles and, oh, we've got the 3 of Swords. Bottom of the deck is Queen of Cups. So our Queen of Pentacles with our 3 of Swords. Now, 3 of Swords is of course a card that no one particularly loves to see. It is the card of heartbreak, sadness, loss, grief. And that's beautifully depicted here with this sort of butterfly maiden pinned to the wall. And I would say with the 3 of Swords coming out and depicted in this way, perhaps you have experienced a loss, whether that be heartbreak, whether that be the departure of a loved one, some kind of significant loss in your life that has left you with the sensation of feeling pinned to the wall. You know, grief and loss takes a very visceral, physical toll on us. We have, there's a great book called The Body Keeps Score. We process all of that, not just mentally and emotionally, but in our body as well. And it can really affect how we move, literally, physically, through our world and through our experiences. And it can make it very difficult just to sort of get up and go do things and feel the energy to take action. Now, our 3 of Swords here is paired with our Queen of Pentacles, who is a very beautiful earthy energy. It can represent the sign of Capricorn. It has deep wisdom, a wisdom of being very tied to the earth. This deck actually has some really beautiful descriptions. I want to just tell you how this deck describes the Queen of Pentacles. called the Queen of Discs in this deck. So this is one who gives abundantly of all life's sweetness, generous and motherly, a resource for wealth. So some key words here: life's sweetness, generous, and wealth, and resource. This is a figure here who is very resourced within herself. She has a lot to give. But perhaps because of whatever this loss has been, there has been a, not loss of, but a losing sight of the abundance that is you, the abundance that you have to give, the sweetness that actually is generated in and overflows out of you. And so this may be a season of recovering that aspect of yourself, of finding your groundedness again, and not the heavy groundedness of grief and heartache, but the groundedness of full presence in one's physical reality. And of course, the bottom of the deck, we have the beautiful Queen of Cups here. So this does speak to a return to intuition and an opening up of the heart space. I love how dreamy these cards are. And there is a beautiful correlation between, I'll put this down for a moment. There's our dream life, and dreams meaning our literal nighttime dreams, but also our dreams for the life we want to live. When we put those dreams out there with our mind, that shapes our reality. And it's something we get to then go on a journey to step into and live into. Once we sort of cast that dream, then comes the work of living it. This is where we need our Queen of Pentacles, because she is very much on the ground living it. So there's a real sense here of recovering from heartbreak by accessing your own queen energy, the mother energy, that strong, we talk about nurturing, but there's also strength. There's generativity, feminine generativity. Okay, I think I've said it. I think you get the point. So let's get our row of 5 cards. So there's our 8 of Swords. So that's that fear kind of taking over and creeping in. Love this. That's the Page of Pentacles, or Page of Discs, as it's described in this deck. We have the King of Cups. That one came right out. We have the Sun. Beautiful. And that one flipped over by itself. We have the 5 of Cups. Whoops. Bottom of the deck is the 2 of Swords. So this is, you can see here, she's walking a tightrope. There's a balancing of competing energies with the 2 of Swords, and there's a need to sort of turn inwards and balance that out internally, finding your inner balance. That's really what this card is saying. And we're definitely seeing that in the cards here. So let's have a look. Not surprised to see these cards. They sort of just elaborate the story of what our first 2 cards are saying. So here we have our 8 of Swords. So that speaks sort of a lot to the consequence of this experience of loss and heartbreak, and the kind of position and energy it leaves us stuck in. Notice how she's crouched down here, holding the bunny. And this is not, rabbits show up as symbols quite a bit. They can represent springtime, fertility. They're always depicted with the Empress as that sign of abundance and fertility. But this is sort of the shadow side of the rabbit, that fearful, skittish, quick moving, nervous, anxiety energy of the rabbit. She's dressed as the rabbit and sort of clinging to it. And there's a sense of almost clinging to one's own anxiety, because at least it's yours and it kind of makes you feel safe to hold on to it. It's familiar. Because whatever else is out there in this darkness behind you might be scarier than just being in the anxiety that you're familiar with. So keep that in mind. Then we have our Page of Discs. So this is a wonderful, youthful, I love the page here because it's a small step away from the Eight of Swords. When we're in this kind of energy, a big leap can feel very difficult. And this is not asking for a big leap. This is asking for a small step. And it's just a small return to groundedness, to nature. Nature is going to help extremely well here. And one of the meanings this card speaks to is one who is learning the ways of nature, which means there is an intelligence sort of represented and operating in and through all of nature around us that also reflects and represents and mirrors the processes that we go through. So here we see springtime here. We see her legs are actually roots. So finding your roots again, and which is, very related to our Queen of Discs here, our Queen of Pentacles. Finding one's roots in order to grow, to become a shoot for new life. This is very springtime energy. And so the advice in coming out of this sort of Eight of Swords energy here is finding your roots again and remembering the cycles of nature. Whenever there is a loss, a flower, think of a dandelion, you blow into it, the seeds scatter, make a wish, and they land in the ground, and that creates new dandelions, Every time, things naturally disperse, and there are losses that we all go through. But in our losses are seeds of new life. So this is finding that wisdom, finding your own roots, going into your own roots to find that aliveness again, and taking small, innocent, gentle steps forward into aliveness again. Baby steps. Nothing here is asking for a big leap. This is really asking above all else to ground again. Even if that means going outside and standing barefoot on the grass, which is a practice I highly recommend. The earth is constantly giving off energies and particles that you can absorb in through your feet. So that's a great, great practice to kind of help you ground pretty quickly. So moving on, we have King of Cups and we have the Sun. Now I'm going to acknowledge first that we have the Five of Cups over here, and this does speak to taking the time to grieve, but not getting stuck there. So this is, one of these things about this card is it's depicted in that nest. And there's a feeling, we have part man, part bird, part woman, part bird here, of being between two selves, two ways of being. As we sort of walk away from one thing, there's that in-between period where we're not quite sure what we are yet or where we are yet, and that's okay. So taking the time to grieve, finding comfort, but a slight caution not to overindulge, but to be aware that it's natural in this in-between phase to feel between two selves, and that's okay. So back to our King of Cups here. This is the way I'm going to read this card right now, because this is the highest form of love. This is emotional maturity, and that's maybe what you are coming into as a result of this work, and maybe that's what's being asked for here. But there's also, and I love the depiction of this, and this goes with the Queen of Cups we were seeing earlier, there's an element of fantasy and of inner adventure. So learning to dream again is a very real thing here, of finding your own. You remember when you were a kid and you could just make up worlds inside of yourself? That doesn't have to go away because you're an adult. And as we learn, and as we especially grow in maturity spiritually and come to understand how our interior world reflects our exterior world, that they are correlated and they are in a dynamic, symbiotic relationship with each other. What new adventures do you want to have? What does your soul want? Where is the emotional fulfillment? And where do you want growth? Emotional growth. Because with this loss, a space has been made for a new adventure to emerge. So finding that inner richness again, the inner richness, and here we have the sun. This is what I'm really hearing strongly here, is bringing play back into life again. Bringing play back into life. This is, finding this. This just came up, so I'm going to pass this along in case anyone has not encountered this yet. There is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If you're not familiar with it, and especially if this is resonating with you, I highly recommend getting that book and going through the process. I've done it many times. It is I call it my personal Bible. But it's reconnecting with your inner life again and bringing play and joy back into life, finding those areas that have been closed off or starved and dried up, and bringing that forward into everyday life. And that's really what I'm getting from these. Okay, let's get our clarifiers. Whoa, that came flying right out. So we have 9 of Wands. I love this deck so much. I could do a whole video about why I love this deck so much. I'll spare you right now. But there is so much here about, and there is our King of Pentacles, about refinding the inner life and living from that place in order to recover from a loss. Losses are hard. Losses also, does that want to come out? No, this does. Losses make space for something new to emerge. And there's the World. I want to make sure you can see all of these well enough. Okay, bottom of the deck, 3 of Pentacles. So this card in this deck is, 3 of Pentacles is working on a master plan. It can be about collaboration. It can be sort of the architect of the future. This card in this deck is also very much about taking a time to assess what resources you have, assess what's working and what's not working in order to have a clear sense of how to move forward. So that's the underlying energy here. Okay. So our 9 of Wands here, this is a slightly different depiction. I'm gonna hold these cards up here, hopefully you can see them. So we have our young woman here, sitting, reading. The lizard is on the wall. That lizard is that symbol of sort of new life and passion. But the way this card is depicted and explained in this deck is, this is not really a time for action. You've done enough. Outward action is not required. You can take a pause and you will have all of the resources you need at your disposal when it is the time to act. And it will be clear when it is time to act. And here we see her really engaging in what I've been talking about, which is she's reading. She is refilling her imagination, the magic of reading a good book and the sense of wonder and new images and fresh ideas that it can fill you with. She is not needing to act at this time and is recharging her imagination. And that is a great thing to be doing right now. So here we have our King of Pentacles. So we have counterparts here. Let me just look a little further ahead. Queen of Swords. I'm not strongly getting, sometimes when there are counterpart cards coming out that can speak to a relationship situation, I'm not really getting that here. This is really a reading for you finding your own interiority again. Now, this card represents Taurus, the King of Pentacles. So this could be just moving into Taurus season. This is what is still being focused on. This is also being able to charge ahead when the time is right. I just said not charging, but maybe Taurus season will be the time for you to act. But once you are full again, then the acting comes naturally. And this is taking charge. And this is coming right out from under her skirts. She owns this bull. This is her energy. It's at her command. So when you fill yourself up, you've got the protection, you got the, I was gonna say horsepower, but bull power here. And so, but I am also reading this as, this is really coming strongly through to me as possibly Taurus season. And this is, let me back up here a little bit, because these cards are also meant to clarify the ones above them. So there's a continuation of the story here, but there's also a clarification here. So backing up, the Nine of Wands, this activity I described, is really the antidote to the Eight of Swords, and these are energies that can inform each other. This work of the page that we discussed is what is kind of creating this bull, is what is grounding, creating the roots, establishing that inner strength, because that bull is so much that inner strength. And I will say, I am reading here that Taurus season, which kicks off, I believe, around April 20th, April 21st, is when we sort of shift from Aries to Taurus. I am reading that Taurus season is when it's going to be more time to move into action. Right now in Aries season, we're tending to your inner world, as I've said, I think 1,000 times now. Moving into Taurus season is maybe where we will start to move, because I'm also getting a Knight here, which is indicating some forward movement. So Queen of Swords here. So this is clear mind, clear mentality. This is a little bit of a gruesome image, but this inner world is creating a sharpness of vision, a clear seeing to move forward with. And then when we have our sun clarified by our Knight of Cups, now there's something to offer. And maybe, just maybe, now we're ready to invite someone to play with us. After doing this work of solo time, the Knight moves forward. It's ready to express this inner sun that it's found. It's ready to invite others to participate and to play in this. And then we finish here with the World. Now you can see, you probably can't see because this is too far away. So we have our young woman here with her little spirit animal, and she's inside of that snow globe. She has become very accustomed to this sort of small world that she's in. It's safe and it's familiar, but she's ready to get out. And so one of the messages of this card is, don't be afraid to shake things up, to shake it up like a snow globe. And that, paired with our Five of Cups here, is indicating, this is about being, I said when I read this card before that despite this grief having us sort of stuck between selves, this card also warns a little bit about not getting stuck there, about not overindulging the sadness. And that overindulgence has maybe created now a need to shake that snow globe, to shake things up and allow things to sort of fall in a different place. And because you've gone through this transformation work and found that inner adventure again, shaking things up and letting things kind of fly a bit is not a destructive thing, it's a creative thing. It's putting energy into the mix for new experiences to come into alignment for you. So that's a really, really beautiful place to end. I acknowledge that there is some tough energy here, and my heart is with you if you're moving through some grief. We all go through that, and it's not fun. But there is such a strong renewal here. And I want to say again, if anyone needs this, who is still kind of coming out of this energy, there is no pressure at this time to push. There is no need to push. Tend to your inner world. Take baby steps to ground. Indulge your inner life, your inner reality, your imagination, to find that inner sense of adventure again and that desire to have a more dynamic outer life. And it will emerge. You will be guided to move when it is time to move. It will naturally bring you to a place of wanting to shake that snow globe. So be gentle with yourself. You know, we started here. This was the icon that you chose as passion. And this is the process of finding that passion again. So be gentle. Allow the process to work. Take good care of yourself. You have the resources. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope this served you, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care. Hello, pile number 2. Welcome to your April reading. You chose the Witch's Tarot deck with the beautiful amethyst butterfly wing. So this is truly a season of transformation. Let's see what the cards want to say. There is on my front door a monarch butterfly currently in cocoon phase. I got to watch it crawl up. Here we go. Now that's more cards than I wanted, but I'm gonna honor it. Spirit's saying take it. So you're gonna get some extra cards. But as I was saying, our monarch butterfly, I got to watch it crawl up, choose its location, attach itself, and now every day I'm getting to watch it go through its transformation phase, which is a really beautiful thing to see. You know, that butterfly transformation is such a metaphor for all of us as we go through different stages of life and experience different things. And the thing that's important is it crawls up in one form. When it goes into the cocoon, it completely disintegrates. And that's why if it's disturbed during that cocoon phase, you know, it can disrupt the transformation and cause it to not become the butterfly. So breaking down all the way is important. So maybe there's a message in that for you. Bottom of the deck, and this is why I think there is a message in that for you, we have our 5 of Cups. So this does acknowledge a bit of sadness that some things have not worked out. There are some spilled cups and some things that, you know, disappointments. Maybe it's some heartbreak or a loss, but I read this card a lot as just some disappointments. Perhaps some dreams and some hopes and desires just didn't quite work out. But always remember there are 2 more cups standing. This is definitely, the 5 of Cups is a very in-between card. And it talks about, and this came up also in pile number 1, of not getting stuck in that in-between energy. Which, you know, I was talking about the butterfly in the cocoon. There's a balance here between honoring the breakdown phase, taking the time it needs to move through it, and then completing the transformation. So I'm seeing that a bit with our 5 of Cups there. But let's get to these cards. Normally this would be 2 cards up here, but these 4 said very clearly they wanted to come out together. So we have Ace of Swords, the Moon, the Empress, and the 7 of Swords. Now, what I'm getting very strongly here right away is there are some things coming to light. Some things coming out of the shadows. 7 of Swords is my least favorite card in the deck because it does speak to some sneaky, manipulative, can-be lies, things that have been kind of deceptive. Now we'll see more about what that wants to say. But the Moon also speaks to what's hidden in the shadows and also going on that journey into the shadows to encounter what is there, to go through that transformation. So it's a journey into the unknown, into the subconscious. And our Ace of Swords here is clear perception. So as we discover what's in the shadows, there is clear seeing. Now, the Empress feels like a funny energy to be sitting in the midst of this, because she's got none of this business going on. She does not deal with the Seven of Swords. So here's what I want to say about that. There could be a feminine figure in authority who is engaged in this, who has kept either, I do not want to use the word manipulate, even though that is sort of what the Seven of Swords speaks to, has, let's say, clouded your vision with their own interests, perhaps. Sometimes mothers, they mean so well. They really do. They want to protect. But sometimes it does not allow us to grow and transform the way we need to. Sometimes you need to go out and get knocked around. And sometimes mothers don't want to let go and will find ways to stay attached. So this could be, I really don't love bringing that forward, but that's kind of what's coming through clearly. There could be some hidden motives with the Empress, and you're starting to see that clearly. Alternatively, if that is not your story, this journey of traveling through the darkness, of bringing things that are in the shadows to light, could also be facilitating your stepping into your Empress energy. Could mean taking back your power, sitting yourself on that throne, instead of being at the mercy of sort of other people's strategies and agendas around you. You are coming into your own place of self-resource and abundance and of power. None of these people really, at the end of the day, can touch the Empress. She has the power here. So in any case, there is going to be a renewal of vision once some things come to light and that perception gets sharpened. Okay, let's see where we go from here. Well, we have the Sun. That's some good news. Okay, that one almost came out reversed. I'm gonna take it in the reverse. It was more sideways. Okay. Okay, we had two come out here. Three of Swords, that came out in pile one as well. There are a couple repeated cards here. Okay, that came out with pile one as well. So here we have the Eight of Cups, and I'll say what I always say with this card in this deck, which is I absolutely love this depiction, because even though the Eight of Cups can be a little bit of a tough energy, it means walking away from what's not been fulfilling. In this deck, we see our figure here walking away from 8 cups, but walking towards 8 stars. Stars represent healing, hope, and inspiration. It's the promise of what's new and what's to come. We have a dolphin companion here, which is a very spiritual, intuitive, psychic kind of animal, protecting and guiding her on her journey. So this really is, the dawning of a new day here. That puts a much more lovely spin on that card that I appreciate. Okay, so a little bit of mixed energy here, as is consistent with what's up top as well. We have the Sun, which does speak to happiness and joy and a return to youthful energy. It can also speak to what we've got going on with our Ace of Swords, which is clear seeing. Now the sun is shining again. Now we're able to see in the light of day. This may happen to you all as well, but it's not uncommon for people to sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, and that time of night, for whatever reason, all of our worst fears or everything we've ever done wrong or any, things just come up, and we can sit in that state, that sort of Nine of Swords energy of just like constant, overwhelming anxiety. And then if you're fortunate enough to fall back asleep, you wake up a few hours later when the sun rises and think, oh, what was I freaking out about? That wasn't so bad. They were in a different energy. When the sun is up and the sun is out, there is a different energy. And of course, we're in the season, at least in the northern hemisphere, of the return of the sun. So that could be bringing a better perspective and a new sense of vitality to address whatever is going on here, to cast out those shadows. And I'm seeing cast out those shadows here because we have the Tower in reverse, which tells me this has already sort of happened. This Tower moment, big, sudden, unexpected changes. And one thing I always talk about, because I always see this card as being a little bit about perspectives and beliefs and ideas, because the Tower is a man-made structure, and sitting at the top is the crown. The crown represents the head, the mind, the seat of power, and that crown is being blown off. So the ideas that this structure was built with in mind, and that the structure was built to protect, we could have created structures in our lives based on an idea that served to have control and power, but may also have created isolation, conflict, strife, being cut off. So that is crumbling. And being in reverse tells me, now admittedly it came out a little bit like this, so it might still be a little bit in process. So we're getting the crumbling of a perspective, a way of seeing, a motivating set of ideas that we may have been running and operating by for a while. So that's what this kind of journey through the shadows is, both causing this to crash and also discovering what's been hiding out in the shadows while we've been sort of locked away in our tower. But in any case, this process, all change is a loss, even if it's a good change. And all losses have to be grieved. So this Tower moment, this is ultimately probably a very good thing. We've got it with the sun. This is not, don't be afraid of the Tower. Tower moments do so much good work in our lives. Sometimes the Tower needs to come down in order to free us and make space for something new. But it is hard and it is painful. That is always the case. And the Three of Swords here is just acknowledging that this is a change. A change is a loss, and it has to be grieved. So honor that, and don't be afraid of that. So here we have our High Priest, the Hierophant. What I'm getting here, the Hierophant can speak to traditional structures, traditional wisdom, conventional wisdom, this can also mean, and this is sort of what I'm getting with this, learning from a wise mentor. So whether that's traditional religion for you, whether that's just any other kind of spiritual path where someone has gone before you and there are roadmaps of wisdom, and that's not to say you won't be sort of bushwhacking through the weeds on your own sometimes, but there is a witness to the process of going through the process that you're going through right now, that people have been going through for ages and ages and ages. And there are markers and there is help, there are resources to move through it. So this could be, as you're going through this process, finding a source of wisdom, finding a mentor or some kind of elder who's kind of been there, done that, to help you move through that. And now our Nine of Cups here, this, I love this card because it sometimes is about sort of just like throwing your own party. It's like, she's good. She's got her cups here. She's got all of her fruits here. She's got her pineapple, which is a sign of, hospitality, the pumpkin, abundance, the seeds. I'm honestly not entirely sure why she's coming out right here, other than this might be clearing away things that have stood between you and your own pleasure and wish fulfillment. Nine of Cups is a card of wish fulfillment. It's a card of satisfaction. And perhaps with the High Priest, because this is a card of wisdom and of learning, this might be, having cleared away this old operating system, a moment of learning what is actually going to satisfy you. What is your wish fulfillment? What makes you feel at home and emotionally fulfilled? And the answer might surprise you. The answer might not be these strategies and power moves that have come crashing down. It might be something more simple, or it might not. It's gonna vary depending on who you are. But the answer is likely to be found from a more traditional spiritual place, or within the wisdom of, let me just add this layer in case anyone is attuned to this. The spiritual journey is one of continual ego deaths. There are big ones and there are small ones. Many of you will be familiar with the idea of the dark night of the soul, when our sort of human, egoic, material world conditioning reaches its dead end and breaks down, and we go through a massive ego and usually identity collapse. But what comes out of that is a stronger, deeper expression and sense of self, that where the ego serves the soul and not vice versa, where you're living from a place of alignment with soul. And you can sort of, anyone who's gone through this journey and come out the other side, there's a much finer attunement of what is for you and what is not. You can feel it in the center of your chest. And so this might be, having gone through a little bit of a dark night of the soul situation, where what emerges is a you that is sitting deep in the seat of your soul, not stuck up and strategizing from your mind. And that allows life to flow much, much better. Things come to you. Things sort of come much more into alignment. I'm oversimplifying the journey, but that is very much the reality of it. And it's something that has been documented for ages and ages and ages in many different traditions. So if you find yourself experiencing a sort of ego death, honor the process. Find some kind of soul guidance that will help you align with what soul satisfaction really is to you. Because, our Empress here is soul satisfied. She's sitting, surrounded by really herself. She is fertility itself. And look at all these symbols of fertility around her. The harvest, the rabbit. This is, again, inner world creating outer reality. So we've got the Fool, we've got the Nine of Pentacles, which is sort of pre-Empress energy. Six of Pentacles, so generosity, unexpected resources or windfall. Let's see, last two cards. Okay, Ace of Cups, beautiful. Whoa, that whole deck just came apart right there. Okay, we're not going to take any of those. I'm not sure what Spirit wanted to say with that, because the whole thing just about came out of my hands. In fact, it did come out of my hands. I think a very specific card wants to come out here. So let's take a moment and wait for it. There it is. That one really announced itself. Knight of Cups, beautiful. Bottom of the deck, we have the Page of Swords. And I saw this when everything kind of fell apart, but Spirit told me put it back. But it is on the bottom of the deck. So this is a small, this can speak to communication because it's air, but I'm getting also a small new idea, like this inkling of the new awareness. And why I say that in particular is because we've got the Fool right here. This kind of youthful new idea, this kind of fresh beginning of a new way of awareness is going to set off the Fool's journey here, which is ultimately the hero's journey, but starting again from a place of innocence. These are both kind of very childlike cards. We see the young man, young boy here. Our Fool has never lost, is not jaded. Our Fool is not beaten down by the world. He has still maintained that sense of wonder and open-eyedness and, is not afraid to participate and to just go out there and see what he encounters. And it's a beautiful energy to be in. So with the Sun, again, that clear seeing, things coming out of the shadows, there is a sort of beginning of a new cycle. This has all come crashing down. We're ready for a new cycle. 9 of Pentacles with the Tower here. This is sort of pre-Empress energy. She has all this abundance around her. With our Tower in reverse, because she is sort of clarifying this Tower here. This may be what we have failed to see while stuck in the Tower. The beauty that's available on the ground. And here with the 6 of Pentacles. Now, the 6 of Pentacles gives me a few different things. It can be someone showing up on your journey and sort of providing a resource at a critical time to help things move forward. That's one thing. It can be a card of balancing things out materially, of equal give and take. So if there is, I'm just trying to see if there's any, I'm really not getting relationship vibes in this reading. I know we have the Knight of Cups here and we'll come to that in a minute, but this, unless you were resonating at the beginning when I was talking about a possible issue with an Empress, this could be, well, you finding your own sort of pre-Empress energy, coming into that sense of like abundance. That could balance out the power dynamics between you and the Empress. So that's one possibility, if that is your reading. Otherwise, this could be someone coming in to help, an unexpected windfall, an identifying of new sources of help, really. Help in the material sense, not just in terms of, this is resources in terms of the spiritual realm and the ideas. This is actual 3D tangible help. So, High Priestess with the Ace of Cups. This is, this card says so much of my cup overfloweth. And that's where we want to be living from, to be blunt about it. Finding that seat of the soul that is plugged into the divine, which is infinite resource. That could be the 6 of Pentacles. And by being tapped into that source, all of that infinite abundance gets to flow through you as as your unique expression of the divine that each one of us are. This High Priest is going to help find that inner wellspring. And this is actually kind of a beautiful progression, 6 of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, Knight of Cups. If you want to take what I just said about this being sort of divine intervention or being tapped into the divine as your source, which is infinitely resourced, as it pours into you, it fills up your cup, which you cultivate through the spiritual practice. You then get to overflow, and you have something then to offer out to others, to offer out to the world, to give meaning and purpose to your quest. Instead of this quite awful Seven of Swords, you know, scheming and stealing and, you know, protecting your own interests. This new journey is one of realizing how much there is available, finding the right source of resource, not going around and stealing and strategizing, but tapping into the divine as your source and resource, which brings this tremendous inner fulfillment and a path and journey and generosity on the way forward. So that is pretty clear. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else we want to clarify here. I will just give one final note because I feel like there's probably someone out there who is struggling with this Empress. So back to that storyline of if that is your story, you're finding your own kind of inner Empress, which is balancing out the power dynamics and freeing you up. You no longer need the validation of that person. And that doesn't mean there's no relationship anymore, but it is a rebalancing of the relationship where you do not need the approval or the validation or the resources. You are resourced from a different source. Your unique cup is your own. Your flow is your own. It is what satisfies you and will take you where you want to go. It's not you being beholden to anyone else's journey. Even if that figure, as we said with the Hierophant, you know, can offer some wisdom and help guide the way. Ultimately, this is your journey. It's nobody else's. And you're finding that inner place that's going to lead you and renew your quest. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that served. Have a beautiful month, and I will talk to you soon. Hello, pile number 3, and welcome to your reading. This is your pile. You chose this beautiful leather engraved feather here and the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck. High Priestess at the bottom. So let us see what the month of April has for you. I don't know why I just shuffled again there, because I had already shuffled and meditated. Oh, there's our devil. And this card's coming out. Okay. Well, bottom of the deck, Temperance. So, that is some interesting energy coming out, and I'm sure if you chose this pile, you're not thrilled to see it. Devil is tough. It speaks to, I should probably cover these people up because YouTube is particular about things. So, devil can speak to attachments, addictions, being stuck in self-sabotaging patterns. And that's actually closer to what I'm getting here with the 9 of Wands. This guy has fought a lot of battles, but notice sort of his posture and where he is. He's collected all of these wands, but he's standing alone, defensive, suspicious, kind of ready to fight if needed. And while he has all these wands, you know, he's very alone. And perhaps this woundedness that he's still carrying that is causing him to, you know, hoard and protect and to not engage is keeping him stuck in some self-sabotaging attachment, is letting this devil hold sway over his mind. Let's go ahead and get some more cards and see what this is all about here. Temperance at the bottom of the deck does speak to balancing things out and alchemizing. So this is a, you know, a good omen, if you will, for what may be to come. But I'm getting here, there's been some tough experiences that is leading to self-sabotaging. All right, we've got to cover everybody up so YouTube doesn't get mad at me. But Judgment here. So that's Resurrection. We've got Eight of Pentacles, so learning a new way. That card wants to come out. Page of Swords, fresh perspective. Nine of Pentacles keeps making an appearance. So that is kind of, I just heard single and loving it. But also, she's in her own power. She is grounded but not attached. There we go. Ace of Pentacles, tangible, new beginnings. Bottom of the deck, Magician. So me seeing the Magician here really just ups the ante on that Temperance card we just saw. This is like the true alchemizer, taking all of the elements and creating something new with it. He has the power to transform anything and everything. So, and I will say, the Magician, the power that that Magician has is neutral. It works with the laws of nature, so it does have guiding principles. But what matters is how it's used, what intentions and energy you bring to the Magician, because it can create for good and positive and generative, or it can be destructive. It can be a trickster energy. So we want to be aware of how we are working with the Magician. The Magician itself is neutral. It's what we do with the Magician that matters. Now, I am grateful to see this spread here because this is a much happier situation. So, having been maybe stuck in a pattern of self-sabotage, defensiveness, feeling that need to protect, we have here Judgment. That is a resurrection card. That is new life. It's almost to the world. It's almost completing the cycle. But these figures we have here, they're coming out of the grave. And this, oh, I wish I could have the Temperance card in front of me. Let me see if I can find her. But the point I want to make in looking for her here is if you look at that angel right there, here she is. Okay, let me show you this. It's the same angel. I'm not going to hold this card up because there are little body parts here that YouTube will object to. But hopefully you can see that this is the same angel. So this angel has been present through this devil cycle, through this Nine of Wands cycle, through the self-sabotaging behavior, through the trials that, you know, maybe this was brought on through absolutely no fault of your own, and it's just circumstances that piled on and piled on and piled on. All these rods, these wands just keep piling on, and you're just like, good God, is it ever going to end? And it has made you jaded and weary. That is perfectly human, and we've all been there. But this angel, that was the point, I'm going to leave her right here, has been there through all of this. You have not been alone through all of this, and continue to not be alone, because look here, she is calling you out of the grave. That may be a he, I don't know, I'm going to call it a she. It might be Archangel Gabriel, but I'm not entirely sure. But this angel is at work. So, I mean, a clear message there. Trust in the divine, lean on and into the divine. The divine has not left. We might be so caught up in these patterns and in what's plaguing us that we've lost sight of the power of the divine to transform. But it is there. And this might just be call to consciousness, even if it's like just cracking the window just a little bit to let the air in. It is there. And this angel is present. The divine is coming in and saying, time to come back to life. Time to break out of this cycle. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing right there. So Eight of Pentacles is working on learning a new way. So this way has not worked. Now we are learning a new way. This is the student going through the motions, and sometimes learning things can feel like the grind. It can feel dull and repetitive and not as exciting sometimes as our battles. You know, sometimes when we're in it for a long time, we can sort of become addicted to that stress, addicted to the drama, as some song out there says. It is possible. And This is the drudgery of mastery. This is taking the steps necessary, being willing to learn again. Page of Swords here is also very much kind of a student card. This is a fresh new perspective, a new idea. It can also be a little bit of communication, but it's not quite the Fool, but it is kind of like this. It's like I'm getting, what is it? It's like, you know, when you're like young and like 20s and have just kind of finished up school and you're like, I'm ready to take on the world. I know all this stuff. I'm ready to go. It gives me a little bit of that to it. It could be a little bit of communication coming in, or it just could be a little bit of a fresh new idea. But I'm actually, because the Page of Swords came out in another reading and I was getting, it was kind of like a fresh new perspective. That's not what I'm getting from this Page of Swords in this reading. This has more action to it. It could be some communication coming in. That communication could be just what helps to break out of the cycle, or it could just be a real desire to act now. You know, this guy's looking over his shoulder, but he's not moving anywhere. This guy's looking over his shoulder, but he's ready to swing. He's light and agile and ready to move. So this just maybe could be a return of that lightness and that ability to move. So here we have our Nine of Pentacles and our Ace of Pentacles. Now, Nine of Pentacles is very sort of pre-Empress energy. What I'm actually getting really strongly from her right now is this might be like an older feminine figure who can offer some advice. And perhaps the Page of Swords is that advice. But she is in some ways facilitating this Ace of Pentacles, this tangible new beginning. Because we're coming here from getting out of the grave, doing the work to kind of get light and get free again. And then we're moving into this actual, tangible, new beginning. Pentacles are, you know, if this was an Ace of Swords, it would be a new perspective. This is a new beginning in the 3D. She is very grounded in the 3D. She's really sort of inside the walls of this garden. And perhaps, because we're sort of on a new journey, we see the Nine of Pentacles, because I'm not picking this up as you. This is not the viewer for me. This is someone or something external that is facilitating this new beginning, or is, I want to say, the word that's coming to mind is alluring. Could be something that is alluring, a person that is alluring, but it is, you see it and you think, that's so much healthier. That's so much more admirable. That's so much more where I'd want to be. And she is inside this garden. So the desire, and maybe this is just catching a glimpse of a Nine of Pentacles, of this woman, that is going to kind of pull you along into the new reality, to show you what's possible, a different reality that's possible. And it's not just possible, because again, this is a pentacle, it's real. To show you the reality of a different reality and beckon you and sort of entice you into it. We've got a little snail here, so that's, you know, slow moving energy, and that's fine. But this is working towards a new reality. So that's lovely. So let's get our clarifiers. Okay. Nine of Cups, so that's wish fulfillment, satisfaction, a little bit of indulgence. Okay, we've got Five of Cups, so that's, whoa, a little bit of difficulty letting go. We've got Three of Cups, reunions and collaborations. This is very, okay, hold on, let's get our last card here before I start talking. There it is. And the Sun. The Sun has come out. Let me make sure I'm correct. Yes, the sun has come out in every single pile. So I think a theme overall for everyone, there is sort of a returning of the sun in that metaphoric kind of youthful, you know, bringing back happiness and vitality for everyone in this month. Okay, Knight of Pentacles, again, so slow forward movement. The Knight is a slow moving energy, but he's moving. He's on a quest. It's a tangible reality. Okay. 9 of Cups beneath our Judgment here. Let me just say one thing before, because there's sort of, these are clarifiers of what's ahead of them, what's above them, but they also sort of tell a second layer of story. Because what we're getting here, this is a card of being fulfilled, knowing what fulfills you. But this is 5 of Cups here, still not quite able to let go of the past, and not in a devil way, but in just processing the emotions of walking away from something. It's hard to walk away from something. It's hard. But there's still 2 cups standing, and what comes in this 3 of Cups here is, you know, amplifying what's in your cup, the law of 3, by joining it with others. So this is celebration, this is hanging out with friends, rejoining the party. That's what I just heard very clearly. This is the anticipation of the new way, and of course we're ending with ultimate happiness. And look at the resemblance between the Sun and the Ace of Pentacles. So headed in a really positive direction, rejoining the party, acknowledging that it is, you know, it's hard to deal with that loss. It just is, and that's okay. But just don't stay stuck there. Okay, so backing up for a moment, let's look at these as clarifiers. So 9 of Cups clarifying Judgment. 9 of Cups here does also warn a little bit against overindulgence. If this is in the reverse, I would be saying moderation is key. But this could also just mean tasting life again, satisfaction. 8 of Pentacles with the 5 of Cups. And this sort of speaks to me as just the process. These guys are both, well, he's in process. Our 8 of Pentacles is in process. But while you're sort of doing the work, and sometimes the work is all you can do to deal with the loss. How many times have we been through breakups or some kind of grievance and sort of have a need to throw ourselves into work, because that's just, it saves your life when you're kind of in the depths of it. So it's just taking those steps to move forward. Our Page of Swords, we talked about that being kind of a glimpse of something new, and that glimpse may come from participating with other people, seeing it, because again, this 9 of Pentacles was external to ourselves, or external to you, the viewer. And here we have coming back into relationship with other people, breaking out of that isolation and rejoining the party. So it's in rejoining that this glimpse has a chance to be glimpsed, if you catch my drift. And then 3 of Wands here, preparing for that new beginning. And it's not just preparing, it's imminent. Like, it's kind of here. The ships are coming in. So it is still a bit of a transition card for me. So, but getting ready to engage whatever on those ships. There's an openness to this. You know, the 2 of Wands, he's still behind that wall. He's looking out, but there's still a separation. Here, he's gone out to the cliffs to greet the ships. And then, so this may be where our, having glimpsed our 9 of Pentacles figure, whatever that is for you, whatever entices you forward, is what has brought our figure here out to greet the ships, willing to engage. And the Sun, as I said, look at how much here our Sun resembles our Pentacle. that pentacle might as well be the sun in the sky. There is happiness arriving. Not in the abstract, it is literally arriving. It is a tangible new beginning. It is the ship coming in. It is here. So let me see if there's anything else. But I think that was pretty straightforward. You know, do the work, be alert for your Nine of Pentacles. I want to call out one other thing here in case this is helpful. Because we have the progression of the Eight of Pentacles to the Nine of Pentacles, which results in an ace. If you are working on something like a business or a project and you're in it and you've been working for a long time, and you know when you're like mid to 3/4 of a way through a project and it's kind of getting stale and your energy's running out, this could also be a fresh injection of inspiration to carry it over the line, to get that project coming to completion. And so this could be speaking to here the resurrection of a project that you sort of let die because it just became too big of a burden. So that's there if that's your story. See if there's anything else. And I just want to say, because this one other thing, this Nine of Cups here, I'm slightly suspicious of this Nine of Cups. It can signal some overindulgence. And because it is coming out right ahead of this Five of Cups here, this Nine of Cups behavior may have caused a little bit of trouble. Whether it's too much drinking, whether it's overindulgence in some other kind of way, it may have gone too far and spilled. And so this is sort of just a natural correction here to sort of, you know, the Three of Cups here. It's not that it was all bad, but it maybe went a little too far. Maybe ended up causing this, put these people in the boxes to begin with. And so there's a little bit of this has kind of tipped over and a rebalancing happening. So those are your messages for April. I truly hope that this served you and will help guide you through the month. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Take care.